Ever since it was released in 1998, Metal Gear Solid could only be played at 30 FPS. None of the versions ever released allowed the frame rate to go any higher. Not even the release of the Master Collection version on Steam made it possible, since that's just the PS1 version running on an emulator. For years it seemed like playing this game at 60 FPS was never going to be possible. But, as it turns out, it's possible to play this game at 60 FPS or more right now, and in this video I'll show you how to do it. Years ago, I made a video showing what MGS1 at 60 FPS would look like. That video was made by taking the recorded footage at 30 FPS and using an interpolation algorithm to create new frames in between the real ones, which brought the footage up to 60 FPS. But that approach obviously could not be done while playing the game at the time. But now, years later, we have frame generation tech being used in real time on games such as DLSS 3 and FSR 3. The application I'm going to show you in this video uses a very similar system for frame generation, but it works in any game. The app is called Lossless Scaling, and it's available on Steam. If you're not familiar with frame generation, it works basically the same way as the video I made years ago, but in real time. It creates new frames in between the real ones using interpolation. Now both DLSS and FSR3 use more advanced algorithms for frame gen, but lossless scaling still works very well. And aside from generating new frames, the app can also be used to upscale games using a variety of different algorithms and settings. But in this video we're going to focus on the frame generation. So here's how MGS1 looks when played at 60 FPS. As you can see, it's pretty smooth. The image quality isn't perfect, and you can see some artifacts depending on what's on screen. For example, in this cutscene, the chopper blades look a little weird. And when text appears on screen, you can see some artifacting as well.
Excellent, Snake. Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
But in general, I think it looks great. And if you have a high refresh rate display, you can go even further. Using Lossless Scaling's 3x or 4x modes, you can reach 90 FPS or 120 FPS respectively. Obviously, I can't show frame rates higher than 60 in this YouTube video, so I'm comparing 60 to 120 FPS at 50% speed. But yeah, as you can see, it works just as well. Now I know what you're probably thinking, MGS1 is not the only game that's limited to a low frame rate. Can't this app be used for other old games? And the answer is yes. Here's a few other examples of games that can make good use of the frame generation. The classic Resident Evil games are also capped at 30 FPS on every version available. So Resident Evil 1, for example, can be played at 60, 90, or 120 FPS as well. In this footage we have the PS1 version running on DuckStation using lossless scaling to upscale it to 60 FPS. But any version of this game should work with lossless scaling. And if you want to know more about all the different versions of this game, you can watch my video on it, link in the description. Another example of a classic RE game that's limited to 30 FPS is Resident Evil Code Veronica. Here's the GameCube version running at 60 FPS using lossless scaling. Once again, all other versions should work with lossless scaling, and I have a video about this game as well. Another game that's capped at 30 FPS from another franchise is GTA San Andreas. Of course, I'm not counting the horrible Definitive Edition remasters, but here we have the old PC version which had many glitches if played at any frame rate above 30. But with lossless scaling, you can play at 60 FPS or more without glitches. Aside from games that are locked at 30 FPS, there are also games that are locked at 60 FPS and can now be played at higher frame rates on high refresh rate displays using lossless scaling. For example, the original Resident Evil 4 is locked at 60 FPS on the Steam version, and with lossless scaling you can play it at 120 FPS or more. Another game that's locked at 60 FPS is Dark Souls Remastered, and here it is running at 120 FPS with lossless scaling. And one final example, Yakuza 3 Remastered is another game that's limited to 60 FPS, and here it's running at 120 FPS as well. To use lossless scaling with these games is very easy. Simply launch the app before launching the game. You'll get a window that looks like this. Make sure you're using the 2.3 version of the algorithm, pick how many extra frames you want, and choose a hotkey to activate the scaling. Then launch the game, and while it's running, press the hotkey and enjoy the higher frame rate. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what game you're going to use this app with in the comments below. If you did enjoy the video, leave a like and subscribe for more. And if you want to get in touch with me, follow me on X. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Special Operations Foxhound. Revolver Ocelot.